Hey everyone, it's Hydro Pump here. I recently played in a small Tengu plant tournament online, and I was able to win the tournament with Infernity. Now, I just kind of wanted to play this tournament because my teammate ProStorm was playing in it, and he's been messing around with Tengu plants recently, and it's been experimenting with Infernity. So just kind of been, you know, go and work on a list with him and for fun. And I've been playing the deck for a long time in the past. I haven't really messed too much with Tengu plants in the past couple years. Funny story, I originally started with Tengu plant format back in 2021 or end of 2020 actually. Before I jumped into Edison, because I realized, I'll check out this Edison thing. It's a little bit bigger than Tengu plants at the moment, and then the rest was kind of history, but it seems like Tengu Plant's been pretty popular recently with, that Vegas event that happened with the 3v3. So it's gaining a little more popularity, and overall it's a decent format. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely tolerable, and one of my favorite decks of all time is in this format, and it's Infernity. So it's something I've played in several formats in the past. I played it when the deck came out, with like 3 launchers and all that. I played in a Tengu plant format or around it. Maybe I think I played a little bit before it as well, like in the springtime when Dragooney just came out and 6 Sands were crazy, GK was crazy. So wasn't the best then, but it's not as peak power in Tengu plant, but I definitely think it's a good deck. And then obviously later I played in 2013 when the Volvo chain came out, and Hat format before and after when Soul Charge came out. So I've been playing the deck for a long time. It's obviously a little different over the formats, but I just always enjoyed it. But yeah, I have a deck profile here for you guys to watch, and yeah, we're just gonna jump right into it. And shout out to ProStorm for playing this tournament with me. It was fun. And shout out to Team Ring of Destruction, of course, and shout out to all you for watching this video. So yeah, we'll jump right into it, and I hope you enjoy. So yeah, on to the Infernity deck profile. This is obviously 40 cards. So starting off with the staples here, we have 3 Archfiend. Kind of always need 3. What I like to think is staple is 3 Necromancer. I see there are a couple people try to play 2. But I think in this format, 2011, you definitely need to get like all the revival cards as much as possible. And sure, you can potentially draw multiple Necromancers, but if you have ways to get them in the grave, it's not really a big deal. And just having the big defense is really good, because you have stuff like Thunder King that's pretty popular, Alias, Tengu. Like, you'll be surprised how much the 2000 defense really walls off a lot of cards. So yeah, I've always liked the 3 Necromancer. People try to cut it like or play it at 2, and it's like has like formats like Hat 2014. I even like 3 there, just because it gives you a little more of a grind game if need be. But yeah, 3 Necromancer, and then play 2 Mirage. You can potentially play one of these, but I enjoyed playing 2. Just again, more things to revive stuff from your grave, which is always nice. With this deck, I try to prioritize getting all my combo pieces in the grave, and then have something to revive it. So that's kind of works really well with Mirage. And the second one came up a couple times throughout this tournament, so I was glad I played 2. I would side out 1, like going second sometimes, and that worked out pretty well. And obviously the 1 Avenger, the only tuner. You can play 2 of these potentially if you want to. Might be a little gimmicky, but say you have 2 Avengers in grave and Archfiend dies by battle. You can summon 2 Avengers, and then, they become both level 4. I believe you can summon 2 Avengers anyways, and then you can do like a Exceed play. So it gives you like a little like toolbox play there, where you can just kind of like make Exceeds out of nowhere, which is kind of nice. But this is honestly the MVP of the main deck. because you can end boards a lot with like just Archfiend as your Infernity monster. You don't have to end on like Doom Dragon, which is really big. You can just end on Archfiend, and then they have to post up 2 monsters to run over Archfiend and Avenger, because when Archfiend dies, you summon Avenger, and then you still have the them locked under a barrier where they can't really activate anything. So just being able to do that was really nice. And then I had times where it was like I would have like Armageddon Knight and Archfiend on field, and then I would like crash like Armageddon Knight or Archfiend, one of the two, and then summon Avenger, and then that could be a level 8 play or rank 4 play right there. So yeah, that was something pretty useful. Used a couple times, and I decided to try this for this tournament because again, I knew these tournament series is pretty small for Tengu, so I was like, and then there was recently a list that did well with tour guides. So yeah, we're trying 3 tour guides here. I decided to see how the tour guide list would go. Historically, I didn't really like this in this format, or tour guide, just because I felt like, you know, my goal with the deck is just to get stuff in the grave as soon as possible and then revive it, kind of what Infernity does. And tour guide, this summoning tour guide usually, I mean, it gets you a Necromancer, but you need to get like Archfiend engrave, Avenger engrave, so I didn't really feel like it did that all by itself. And if this gets Veiler, it kind of stinks. You don't really care about Max E in this deck. Like your opponent playing Max E, this deck gets around Max E pretty well. And you can kind of put them in a tough spot where you summon Tour Guide. It's like, well, do you want to burn Max E on the Tour Guide? Because there is potential where you can just pop off by doing that. And if they hold Max C, then like you can potentially pop off. If not, you know, you're just getting Tour Guide or Leviathan, then you're getting Necromancer for free. So yeah, Tour Guide was pretty good. I think something that's like underlying that's pretty helpful was, you know, this deck obviously has problems with Thunder King. It's a known quantity at this point. So if you just go first and summon Tour Guide, make Leviathan, that makes it so you know, they can't really summon Thunder King going second against you. So, and this also plays into Thunder King pretty well because you can just clear it by making Leviathan if they don't have any like back row or anything like that. So this is pretty good at dealing with Thunder King, which is usually kind of a problem for the deck. So yeah, Tour Guide was pretty good. I didn't do anything like super crazy with it, but it was just like pretty decent. I think it kind of just sucked up some things like eat like a warning or something so the rest of the deck can walk. So we played the 1/1 Armageddon and Dark Grepher. We also played the Street Patrol. So if you're not playing Tour Guide, I can see bumping up ratios of like Grepher or Armageddon Knights. And you only really need 1 Street Patrol because you don't really have a way to like, you know, you only have, there's no reason to get 2 Street Patrols because you're not really doing like the exceed plays of spamming. The only way you can play multiple Street Patrols is if you play more Greffers, just to get rid of everything. But you know, Street Patrol doesn't really become insane until like Archfiend Eris comes about, where you can do dump Street Patrol with Grepher and dump Eris, and then get Archfiend, and then you can ban Street Patrol for Archfiend, but that's a couple years out. Anyways, yeah, these are pretty good still. I didn't play Rhoda, just because, just to like try to dodge, not have anything dead against Thunder King. So I just still played the 1/1. They were fine. I think Grepher helped OTK once, where I was able to like just unload my hand and just kill my opponent on the second turn, and then Armageddon Knight was just kind of just good to get stuff in the grave here and there. So yeah, I enjoyed all these ratios. Yeah, I don't really have anything to complain about with the monster lineup. That worked out, you know, pretty well. I think that's 15 monsters or so. Onto the spells. I decided to try out the Gold Sark and the Allure thing with the Tour Guide because I was like, yo, I'm gonna go try it with Tour Guide. I'm gonna go with the full thing. And I didn't really get to do Tour Guide, Leviair, Gold Sark, or Allure play. those didn't really come up at all. But otherwise, these cards were okay. They didn't really. There was one time where Allure wasn't so great, and another time it was decent. And then Gold Sark, I guess it won me one game where we were kind of top decking, which you normally don't want to top deck Gold Sark. But I like Gold Sark for a launcher, and then I just lived just enough. I just had just enough life to live for another turn to where I got the launcher off my Gold Sark and then able to pop off from there. Also didn't. Well, you usually want to get something like Reborn off this. I think Reborn was in the grave already, but you don't want to get launcher off Gold Sark too much in case you can pop off the next turn or something that you can have that launcher to search. But yeah, these cards were okay. I slided them out going second sometimes because Gold Sark going second's a little slow, but you know, they're pretty decent. No complaints. And we had the 2 MST. I didn't play Heavy Storm in the main deck. That was like another thing with Gold Sark. You can Gold Sark for Heavy Storm. But, you know, unless they already have a bunch of back row set and you have like Solemn Warning set or like a Solemn Judgment, Heavy Storms are only really going to be effective against those mass back row decks where it's like you need to have a stop for their Starlight Road that they probably have set. So yeah. So I just decided to go with MST because this deck generally has like a decent amount of back row that you want to keep. And you're not really doing, with Heavy Storm, you're not really playing into the Starlight Road that those heavy trap decks have. And then you can set this, and like the Cassette deck, they have like the discard traps, so you can just set this and you don't want to like Heavy Storm it. And you also don't want the Heavy Storm yourself, so that's pretty nice. 2 MST was good. Sniped a couple warnings and stuff like that, so no complaints there. We played these are the kind of like defensive spells. I guess you can throw Mind Control in there too. These are really good against like Thunder King, which again, I just kind of just want to make Thunder King as bad as possible. Or just, so I didn't play stuff like Rhoda or Duality. I guess people like the trash on Duality because I had that list that I posted a couple years ago. The reason I was main decking 3 Duality in that list because it synergized really well with the randomizer package in the side deck. You know, obviously Thunder King's a problem, but it works. Duality works really with the randomizer thing, but we're not doing the randomizer thing here. Not that I just think it's bad. It's just, you know, if everyone knows you're on it, then it's not very surprised. You know, it's not. You're not really switching it up on your opponent. So that was more like a gimmicky thing. Not to say it's bad. You can bring it out every once in a while, but I think this deck already plays through hand traps decently well. Like, you can deal with them pretty well for the most part. So like, I don't think you have to do like anything too gimmicky to play around them. Anyways, back on Thunder King. So yeah, these all kind of deal with Thunder King pretty well. I didn't really see Book of Moon much. Didn't really do a whole lot. I mind controlled a few things. Wasn't too significant. And Dark Hole was nice post side because I had a game where my opponent had 2 Vanity's Fiends on the field. So that came up pretty nicely there. And yeah, but these are all great outs to that. And they're also just generic. You don't have to... It's not like a battle trap where you're waiting for them to like swing or anything like that. It's just like... You can like fire these all off on the first turn if you really had to. Onto the broken 1-of spells, you have Launcher, 1-for-1, Monster Reborn, and Foolish Burial. These are the last of the spells. Yeah, these are all pretty broken. I guess Foolish Burial is less broken than these 3. Like, but pretty much you're seeing like any of your like 1-of spells, like these ones, you're gonna do something crazy. Or if you have a combination of them, they're all pretty good. 1-for-1, I think I saw 1-for-1 the most, just like in opening hands out of all these. So that was pretty good, just to, you know, get the Mirage out of the deck and pop off. And that's also another thing, if you only play 1 Mirage, it might be a feels bad if you opened it, or you know, it's engraved and it's like, you know, you might even have Avenger engraved and it's like, well, this is a deck card. So and this card's just pretty great in this deck. So yeah, not a whole lot to say about these. They're just really good. I didn't play Upstart in this just because I guess like the Gold Sarks kind of take up that spot, and you have Allure Darkness. Not to say Gold Sark's bad. I like Upstart a lot, but I just wanted to try like a list that was similar to the one that did well, just to see how it goes. And yeah, so that's kind of that. Onto the traps. We got a 2 barrier, 2 break. I'm usually like a 3 barrier guy and 1 break. But break has a little bit more merit in this build just because of the tour guide. You can, you know, break away like a Archfiend or something and revive it with Levier a little easier in this build than normal builds. So that's like something you can shoot for, and you don't have to just end on like a Infernity monster in attack mode. You can just get 2 breaks. Honestly, it didn't really come up to where I needed like a third one of either, or I was missing anything, so maybe 2/2 is probably fine. I just always like 3 barrier just because it helps you play through things pretty well. You know, you can just have like one guy in attack mode is chilling, like Archfiend or something, and you just combo off and you always have protection with barrier. But break is pretty good when you don't have like any setup or anything. You just like, you know, 1-for-1 their guy. Just like good spot removal, so I like both. See if I still play the 2 and 2. I guess it's like the most controversial card of the deck is 3 Infernity Inferno. I know a lot of people don't like this card, but I think it's just, again, back to my point of getting stuff in the grave. You kind of need to do that, otherwise, if you have multiple monsters in hand, like you're not really doing anything because they need to get to the grave, and then you need to have something reborn them. So this gets you like halfway through it. Like you get your stuff in the grave so quick, whereas like you just need 1 revival card. So you can just like dump some things, and you just have like Call Haunted Mirage in hand. It's like, okay, with one of these don't go through, then I still can pop off. So that happens quite a lot. But yeah, and my teammate ProStorm, he's been testing the deck, so it's kind of inspired me to get back into playing Infernity for this format, just, you know, because I haven't played this deck in a while in this format. I kind of just like threw this list together in 5 minutes, literally. But him and I were talking about this deck for the past couple weeks. But, you know, there's like times he had a situation where it was like, you know, if you have like say your opening hand is like Foolish Burial Necromancer and like 4 traps. He's like, well, if I search like another Infernity break or barrier, my back was all clogged, and if they don't make a play, then if I draw a spell or trap, then I can't do anything. So Inferno could be something that's pretty nice there, because you can just search Inferno, set it, so this is like your 5th card, and then it doesn't matter what you draw, you can just literally Inferno it away for another like Archfiend. Okay, Necromancer, get Archfiend, and you're just like doing things, progressing your game state going forward. So this is kind of like a blank. You're like searching like a Foolish Burial in that sense. So that's like a pretty particular scenario with Inferno, but it's just like always good to open this card and get stuff in your grave as soon as possible. Something with like, if you're just playing Dark Reffers and Armageddon Knights, it can be a little tough because you have to deal with stuff like Warning, you know, Veiler. If you're and they suck up normal summons too, so whereas Inferno is just like a trap, you don't have to worry about the normal summon. And these are also like a liability, so Greffer's a liability to keep on the field if you're trying to like unload your hand. So you have multiple monsters in your hand. Say you're in a scenario where, you know, just for extreme measures or something. I'll just say like, maybe not a Necromancer. Alright. Let's go with this. So this is your hand. and you were to dump this Archfiend, and you just have like an extra guy in your hand. So you dump Archfiend, dump like an Avenger to the grave. Again, that only gets you 2 pieces to the grave, where you need 3 with Necromancer, Avenger, Archfiend, which Inferno often gets all 3 in the grave. But yeah, Dark Rapper only gets you 2, Armageddon Knight only gets you 1 piece to the grave, where you ideally want 3. And then, say Dark Rapper dies, you can't protect it somehow. So it goes to the grave. You're like, okay, well I can just fire off this Mirage next turn. Baron, I don't draw a monster. And lo and behold, you draw another Infernity monster. You're like, well, you know, this is like a classic Infernity problem. But so it's like, well, I'll just you know, set Necromancer and so like you just wasted, you just lost a turn there. But having to like just manage that thing with like just drawing on monsters and all that, and just not filling up your grave, you don't really have to worry about that with Inferno. So that's what I really like about this card. And also it's an Infernity card, so it works really well with break. You can just, you know, dump your stuff to the grave, and this is something easy to banish if you want to do that. Yeah, I just really like how quickly this gets everything to the grave, which is what you want to do. I don't really like how other builds, like if they don't play this card, you know, they're kind of just like trying to grind or just like sack, I guess, to get stuff in the grave. Or it's just kind of have to be a little more hopeful if you're not doing that. So I still really like the card. It's like, and you can also just throw away dead cards. So if you have like a dead MST or you know, dead Gold Sark that you just, you know, you're gonna fire this off right away, so you don't really need a Gold Sark. You can pop off next turn. So yeah, like, you can throw away an Infernity monster and a Gold Sark. You get all 3 pieces in the grave, and then you're going. Anyways, that was my Inferno bit there, and we played 2 Call the Haunted. I feel like this card is pretty stable. It was really good for me like all weekend. I'll just have it set. I'll throw like a Necromancer or Mirage out there. People are like, oh, warning, I stopped you at your play, and then I flip Call the Haunted, and I just continue with the combo, and they're like, well. So this card's really good in like simplified game states. You can just revive like Archfiend and get anything you need. So yeah, this card was just probably like the best trap of the weekend of this tournament. So I was really impressed with how well that performed. Then we played the 2 Warning and Solemn Judgment. I feel like you're just kind of forced to play these cards if you have traps in your deck. They're just too good. Pro Storm's like, well, I mean, the life points cost a lot. It's like, yeah, but like anything your Solemn Warning is just like, it's gonna do more damage than those life points or like thereabouts. So like Thunder King 1900 attack, Solemn Warning, you know, Master Hyperion, VLS. Anything that's big, you know, paying 2,000's, you know, a pretty fair price to just deal with their monster. You blank their normal summon and you go from there. So yeah, that's the main deck. Onto the extra deck, we played Armory Arm, Catastor, Stygian Street Patrol, or Surgeons. ProStorm, he mentioned playing a second Catastor, but I was like, no, Stygian's still good. There was maybe like 1 or 2 times where a second Catastor would have been nice, but Surgeons actually came up quite a bit. I think it helped OTK 1 game, and it was pretty useful because I was able to use it to beat over 2 of my opponent's monsters, so that was just nice to have a big body to do that. And you can also just perform the like Army Arm Surgeons OTK, which is kind of like the you know, BLS Army Arm thing, if you can ever pull that off. So yeah, pretty good. Nice to have the flexibility there. But yeah, you can maybe make a case for a second Catastor. We played Stardust. Stardust was really good. I played against Gravekeeper once where I just kind of like made Stardust, and you know, I just pretty much knew, I just kept Stardust alive and just knew it was kind of like there was no way I could really win because I just played through a bunch of traps. And Stardust is pretty good to when you you make some Mirage, and then you true Mirage for like Avenger, Necromancer, and you go Necromancer effect, get Archfiend, and that will let you grab Launcher. And normally you just slam Launcher down to activate it, but you can synchro into a Stardust, activate Launcher, and now you don't have to worry about something like MST, I guess Raigeki breaks any destruction card to get rid of the Launcher because you have Stardust to protect it. So if they have any back row, you can just do this play, and then you can do Launcher, get these 3 again, get a Search, Hunter Eyes, Copy Mirage, get another Search, so it's pretty crazy. So Stardust was great, really enjoyed that. Scrap Dragon, I made it one time. It's just good to pop dead stuff like Call the Haunted, some cards you don't need. So yeah, pretty good. Doom Dragon, I made it one time. I don't think it was like too significant. But yeah, it's cool. You can burn with it. I think I burned like my opponent with 1500 with because they had BLS in the field, so I just needed something to blow up BLS. So that's pretty cool. I think it was like Scrap Dragon or Doom Dragon, and you know, you might as well get the burn in there. So we played 2 Underage Dragon. So I had that old deck profile where I was like showing like some obscure loop you could do, where you can like, you can just like loop a bunch of stuff. It was originally made to loop Trishula, but that requires where you can like Trish your opponent 3 times when it's like limited to 1, because you use Brionic and like Levier and all this stuff. But that requires you to use Beetle, and Beetle generically isn't very consistent or great in this deck. Not saying there isn't a build for it, but I just haven't really messed around with it. Anyways, that's like a super obscure loop, and just requires a lot of things to go right. And usually when you do Mirage and you have 3 pieces in the grave, like, you're probably just gonna win. Anyways, in that loop I had like 3 Hunter Eyes Dragon, and like people I guess get hung up on, oh, you don't need to do the whole loop, and then you don't need the 3 Hunter Eyes because of that. You need at least 2 Hunter Eyes Dragons, but I remember a time where I needed a 3rd one in previous testing. It's like a year or 2 ago. Not doing that crazy loop, just like actually needing it. I think I had one time in the tournament where the 3rd one would have been nice, but you know, it's kind of like niche, so you definitely need 2. Not saying you need the 3rd one, but it came up once where I could have used it potentially. And then we played the Trishula. Obviously Trish is Trish. I made it one time, I believe, and it was just like lights out. So yeah, card's really good. It's actually, I guess, underrated to get Archfiends engraved. We have like Avenger and 2 Archfiends. You can get those all engraved, and you know, works pretty well. So that's it for the synchros. A rather small synchro package for this deck than normal, but we have the tour guide stuff, so we need to fit some Exceeds in here. So we have 2 Levier and 1 Leviathan Dragon. I was kind of debating if I wanted to do 2 Levier or 2 Leviathan, or 2 and 2. You know, I just really wanted to see the tour guide thing, see how it performs. So I was like, screw it, we're gonna go for the greed play and 2 Levier. The Leviathan's nice because, you know, say the first Leviathan's out or it dies and you need to out something like Thunder King, or well, you just need to beat over something. The second one could be nice, whereas Levier can't like out something like Thunder King. Both were pretty good. I don't think I made 2 Levier ever, but I mean, I could see maybe a scenario where you would need to. Probably go with 2 Leviathan. I don't know. This is kind of like a 50-50. I would imagine 2 Leviathan would be more handy than 2 Levier, but I could be wrong. I can see a scenario where both of them would be good. I guess it stinks if this gets Veiled or something, because then they can run over it easier than this. But anyways, Leviathan was just good to make in base if I don't have anything going, and Levier, again, I didn't get the tour guide Gold Sark thing off, so I didn't really get to abuse Levier, but I made it a few times. And it's just like always nice to like loot Mirage and this also works pretty well with Levier because it banishes the monster. So you can just kind of like banish stuff at will. And you can take your opponent's monsters if you want to do something like that. But yeah, those are all pretty good. And then for the rank 4s, played Utopia, then Zen Meister and Roach. These are the only rank 4s available at the time. So we played Utopia. I don't think I made it. There's a play where I guess you can make where you have, I guess you have like this, and then you can like overlay these for Utopia. You have Necromancer and attack for barrier. So that's like your attack mode Infernity monster, and it's like, whoa, well, if they attack with Utopia or Utopia attacks, then you can negate it, get Archery Engrave, and then continue. The problem with that, they have to attack knowing that Utopia is going to negate, and Archery gets in the grave. Or you, okay, your turn rolls around, you don't have anything else going on, you have to swing with your Utopia. And then, like, say you run into a Mirror Force, you have to burn your barrier. So you have to burn your barrier, you have to burn your battle phase just to get Archery and Engrave, which I didn't really like too much. So I decided to play in the Zen Meister just to still get stuff in the grave on my main phase. So I never really made Utopia. I still think you should play it, but it didn't really come up for me in this tournament. But that's a side deck. But yeah, Zen Meister was the best Exceeds this weekend. I made this guy a lot. A good scenario where this guy comes up is yeah, I mean, it comes up quite a bit. This pretty much he's like the only rank 4 that can detach anything on command. So like these two, you get their situation when you can detach, which you're often make an Exceed play with the Arching, which you want to get back in grave so you can abuse it with something like Necromancer. So if you open these 3 or Street Patrol, you go Dark Grepher, dump Street Patrol, dump Archfiend, banish Street Patrol, get Necromancer, get Archfiend, and well, or if you launcher these 2 back, so you can have these 2 and like search a break or something, and then you can bring back the Archfiend. But if you have launcher here, so if you do Grepher, get these 2 engraved, and you have launcher, so you saw the Necromancer effect. And then you can overlay these 2 for the Zen Meister. Then effect, detach. You can set this, and then Necromancer gets an extra search. So if you're not playing the Zen Meister, you're gonna be missing opportunities to get free searches, which came up quite a bit. And something with Utopia, if you want to get the Arching and Engrave, you have to negate your attack. So I think I had a couple times where I was like, man, I just need to get Arching and Engrave again. So I made Zen Meister. He's 25 as well. With this effect, it gains 600 for each material. So I swung over something, and then in main phase 2, I like set it itself to detach Archfiend and have reborn Archfiend back. So whereas Utopia, you'd have to swing, negate with something, and then so it's just like I feel like you're hindering yourself if you're not playing this guy. And like just rely on Utopia, it's a little more situational. You just have to do some like wonky, like beat around the bush stuff with Utopia. So yeah, Zen Meister was great. And then I played Roach. I summoned it 1 time. It was really funny. I had this scenario where I was like, I had a couple of Necromancers and a couple Archfiends on field, I think. My opponent had their own Roach on the field. So it's not like I can make like a synchro play because Roach would just negate it. So I was like, well, I want to just like get these Archfiends engraved and just kill his Roach too. So I just made my own Roach, crashed. So then I cleared the Roach and got both Archfiends engraved. So that was kind of like a funny utilization of Roach, just making it to crash and opponent's Roach. But yeah, that's the extra deck. Again, there's a couple other things you can play, like a Bryonic, Mistworm, but I don't think they they're not necessary. They can come up, but you know, not totally needed. As for the sideboard, we have something that people I've seen. This is like an old school play. It's 3 Raiko. I wanted to try this. I guess at a lot of these, I don't know if it's like the online tournaments, but you play against like a lot of stuff like that are like stun, I guess, that is like can lock Infernity out. Stuff like 6 Samurais with Shien, Barkion, Naturia Beast. And if you play against this Naturia deck, which I've lost to in 2 online tournaments, so I'm like determined not to like lose to again. Because if Bamboo Shoot resolves, you're in trouble. Which I guess Tour Guide kind of helps with that too. So you have something to beat over the Bamboo Shoot potentially. But Raiko is just like a good catch-all. You can kill all those monsters I just mentioned. Any Floodgate monsters, any other ones. You can pop Necro Valley. You can pop any Floodgate back row. Like aside from Skill Drain, I guess. But yeah, it's a good catch-all. And it has a really funny interaction. It came up in one of my matches, but I didn't catch it. But I had like Zen Meister on the field just chilling. And I had like a set Raiko. And I've like flip Raiko, pop something on the field, like a Necro Valley. But you can use Zen Meister to set your Raiko and then flip it back up. And it'll pop again. So I didn't catch it, but it didn't really matter. I still won the game, but that's just kind of like a funny interaction. And this guy's actually pretty good in Gravekeepers because you flip your spy back up. But yeah, I saw Raiko a couple times and it was pretty good. Cleared a Necro Valley a few times, and so yeah, I enjoyed it. And I played 3 DD Crow. Just kind of slapped this in last second. I guess it's good for the mirror or like anything that's weirdly grave reliant. But it's just like a hand trap you can pitch away at any time. So you can technically play like Max C too. But yeah, it's kind of like Crow just because you can interrupt the opponent's play pretty well. It's a dark, so it works with like Gruffer, Allure Darkness there. It's like a couple interactions. I guess you can DD Crow your opponent's monster and you can Leviair it back. That's kind of funny. So there's a couple cute things you can do with Crow. But I guess something is your opponent usually wouldn't see coming against Infernity, so this is like something kind of cool to try out. I decided against the mirror because I played against my teammate ProStorm. I saw it one time, but didn't like really matter super much. So yeah, Crow is pretty cool. And I went with the MST Heavy Storm in the sideboard. Again, if this is in the main deck, or I guess even sideboard, you can Gold Tark for this, so that's kind of cool. You just have to. You probably want something to prevent their Starlight Road, just because like one of the Solemn cards or a barrier if you can, just so you don't get roaded to death. And third MST for like obvious back row decks or Necro Valley and such. So. And then we have the 3D Prison and Mirror Force for like the beater decks. These were pretty good. Mirror Force actually was pretty solid. Just like cleared a board a couple times. Prison, I didn't see a whole lot, but it's good. And again, you can Leviair back their monsters, so something kind of cute there. And I don't have these cards currently, so I made some cute proxies for them, but these are 2 debunks. This is Sheehan Squire. He's on debunks art for some reason, but played 2 bunk. I sided in a couple times against like chaos decks, like the Casset deck. It's okay. I just feel kind of weird siding this card because I feel like the deck already does pretty well against hand traps, but if you're playing against a deck that's like super heavy on hand traps post board, like you got the Crows, Veilers, the Heralds, and whatnot, this can be decent. And this also has a couple other interactions where you can negate like grave effects and stuff too, so it's a decent. Didn't really do anything too crazy. I just didn't want to board 3 because it might be a little excessive where I'm I'm sitting there with 2 debunks and nothing going on. So this last card is supposed to be closed force, but I have an agent force, which apparently this card got bought out recently. So crazy world we live in. Anyways, closed force. I only played 1. Pro Storm used like, oh, you need to play 3, but you know, I beat my GK matchup, and you don't really want to open or see 2 of these just because, you know, I don't think you can close force of your own close force. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the case. I have to read the card again, but yeah, you don't want to just be stuck with multiples and it's just like chilling in your hand, and obviously you need no hand to play your deck. So I was like, well, you can play the 1. If I see it, I see it. Then if not, you know, we have Raikos and MST and Heavy Storm to deal with. You know, something like Necro Valley. It's also, you can side against like something Ravine deck or not, maybe Malefics. I don't know if it does anything against them, but yeah. So that's the deck. Again, I just kind of like last minute put this together, but I just kind of like put some things that I believed in as far as the list, like Infernos and stuff. And I could combine it with the list I did well recently with like tour guides and all that. And it worked out pretty well. Again, it was just a small tournament, so nothing too crazy. But overall, the deck performed pretty well. And yeah, it was a lot of fun to play. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll catch you all in the next one.